You sell sweets, tomorrow you are selling water, anything that you can sell. So what happened was, I read through some of the policies that government will share. When they do your SONA statements, you need to read and go back to those departments and find information. So that's what I did. And I found about National Empowerment Fund to say they're funding young black entrepreneurs. And for me, what I joined under the franchise model, it was because of all the things that comes with it. It comes with capacity building. As you open a store, you don't know what to do. So they take you through that model. So what I'm now doing is that as an entrepreneur, if you have a business and you are still struggling to put system in place, to put anything that the business requires, look into the franchise model and adopt what they do best. When I opened my first business, day one, LEMOK, he does all the branding for a lot of businesses. My business had branding, my business had system in place. I had 14 employees who helped me to run the business. I was not alone. So anything that we need, I got from the franchise model. So the reason why I'm trying to get a lot of entrepreneurs in this model is that the franchise industry contributes 13.5% to our GDP. But how many black entrepreneurs that you can say they are franchisors? We know only of big brands. We know KFC, we know famous brands, we know a whole lot of them, but I have not seen any of the sustainable businesses that have used that model. I've seen one that is still growing, it's in Cuckoo Box. So imagine if we can have such in our township. Remember branding, when we talk about township economic transformation, it's not just about opening up a business, but it's what that business does in the community. For a startup, just having a proper branding develops the community. As you walk out, you don't want to be seeing a dirty business without any signage. Imagine an employee who earns 3,000 working in Centum. How much is transport fee coming to Centum? But if they could still earn the 3,000, but stay in the township, that could even develop their own families even further. There's so much that the model provides, and especially on access to funding. A lot of financiers, they come out and say we are not meeting our target. A lot of financiers, they want to fund businesses that have been tried and tested. And everybody, to be honest with you, even if you are the bank, you don't want to take a lot of risk. You're not just funding for the sake of funding. You need to get the return on that investment. Because remember, you are the bank. So in business, as much as we are black, young from township, to be fair to each and everyone, we need to also meet the requirements. So with that model, if you follow the model, it will prepare your business to access the funding, be expandable, have proper systems, and a whole lot that we all need. So that's why I'm saying that if we can all look into our businesses, and I always say to a lot of entrepreneurs, you've got businesses, but we are not running them formal, hence we can't grow. So if we can just check into that modules to say what is that they do, and we align ourselves with our brands. I'm not saying go and buy to another brand. Have your brand, and you can even franchise your own brand. If you are bakes from Soshanguve, you can even have bakes in Soshanguve in Cape Town, because remember the recipe is yours. So you can train somebody in Cape Town, sell the same cakes that you do, you share the branding, you share the market, so eventually the money that you need, you will get it back ×2, because now you are trading in 2 cities. I hope I'm getting it.
Let's give him an opportunity so that he can expand on that as well.
Okay, so just to clarify your question, what are the challenges I've experienced as a township?
Yes, what does it mean also to be a township entrepreneur?
Okay, 100%. Okay, so I have to start back before I even begin the journey. So I was working for another marketing agency in 4 Ways, living in Soshanguve. I always joke to my team whenever they come to the office and they're lazy to work. I was like, I had to wake up at 4 a.m. every day. 5 a.m. on the road going to 4 Ways, using 2 taxis in the morning and 4 going back home. And I did this for like a year and a half, up until I eventually got a car. This is a struggle. But a year later, after working for the agency, I was actually given a position to be a director of the business. And that exposed me to the strategy side. And we did a lot of work for your telecoms and your Lenovo South Africas and whatnot. And what used to irritate me is when we did activations or marketing campaigns for the township audience, and every time they would go in with free stress balls and lanyards and t-shirts, and they'll be on some tents for us, and you'll get a SIM card and a t-shirt. And I felt that it undermined what township really was. On the other side, I also understood, and I'm sorry for saying this, I say that without any disrespect, but I saw that white-owned agencies didn't understand the black market. So they had a template, and if it's just black, template, that's it. And that's what they did. So essentially I resigned, and I started LEMOK in 2014. But it only registered 2015, it started in 2014. And one of the biggest areas for me to go back to the same clients that I was handling their accounts was that, but guy, you're a small company, township, do you have capacity? It's a big word, capacity. Everyone loves this word, capacity. And I said, my major thing was, guys, let's be honest. No agency, even your multinational agency, sits around with 10,000 employees waiting for a contract. You build capacity as you get the contract. So capacity is actually null and void. Because give me the business, then I will build the capacity. And to be honest, building capacity doesn't mean I need to hire. I can also outsource. As long as the job gets done within the scope and within the budget. So that was one of the biggest issues that I had. Number two was also cash flow in terms of the payment cycles. You get paid between 30 to 90 days. Sometimes you get paid after the job is done, and you're this small agency and you're running a campaign that's worth R1 million. Where am I going to get the million? To do the job and afterwards get the money. So I'm cash flowing a business that has 100-fold cash flow than I have, basically. So that was a major issue. Now to go to the banks to get an overdraft was also an issue. But we fought the fight, you know. Apparently, entrepreneurs jump over a cliff and they figure out what to do along the way. And that's what I did. I figured out, and 2 years down the line, we're doing business now with your Redefines and everything. I won't say it has been a smooth journey. It has been a very tough journey, specifically because you are township based. You have to fight against the stigma of township. So apparently township businesses are inadequate, the quality is bad, and the moment you say township, they're thinking, yeah, this one is gonna take our money and vamos. So it's almost like tenderpreneur vibe. They have this whole misconception around us. So I had to fight through that. Luckily for me, I have a good personal brand, so must Google me. Luckily for me, I have a good personal brand which did the work. And we were able to position ourselves brilliantly. But to be honest, to also counter the question that you asked him around what challenges are township entrepreneurs experiencing and everything. I think the biggest problem with township is, I went to a few. It's the lack of exposure, specifically to procurement policies. So that's the reason why they don't get into supply chains. That's why they don't get into mainstream economies at some point. Because there's a lack of exposure what it takes to do business with a big business. So yeah.
Okay, just coming back to you, Dr. Mpitso, the chief spoke about the fact that there's so much money that goes into enterprise and supply development. And with the recent study that has been done, they've actually found that 26 billion rand circulates in the economy for ESG. So, but I want to understand how much of that really trickles down to the hands of entrepreneurs, because it seems, as you say, that it's absorbed into the administration of carrying out incubators and accelerator programs without entrepreneurs getting the money. So what would that money do for entrepreneurs instead of it being absorbed into the admin of it? And because, you know, with the NYDA, I mean, their budget is 430 per annum. And you just wonder how many jobs are being created out of that 430 million, and how many small businesses have been supported out of that 430 million. Seems like the model is all about, let's put so much money into the administration for very minimal transformation and impact. Someone was also making an argument that in South Africa it takes R1 million to create one job. That's how much money goes into the administration of creating just a single job. So he was arguing that what's the use of spending 1 million just to create one job? So the model is wrong. So what can we say about how do we move forward to make sure that at least most of the 26 billion trickles down to the hands of entrepreneurs?
Thank you so much. Mr. Vetti, you're welcome. I'm going to pick on you this question and indirectly say the biggest problem is that the people with the budget mostly know and spend it on the big names who run those schemes or those programs, okay? And they charge an arm and a leg and they have no interest, to be very honest with you, in building that poor black cat. They don't. It's all about taking the money into their pockets. And when you look at the outcomes, you actually realize there's a serious problem. And I'll give an example quickly. In Belfast, I'm in an incubation because I fought for space with permission from Mr. Vetti. And I got that space wherein I found another entity, a big one, running a parallel program. And the guys, within 2 months, they started moving from that program to this one. And when I asked what's wrong, one of the guys said, I can't believe this, I'm in Belfast. This lady wants to give me an example about Uber. There's no Uber in Belfast. and you've just clarified a simple complication I've had for 4 months by giving me an example with human hair. Because you were talking the language of something I understand. And I related the formula and the process with what somebody else, but that lady charges 10 times than what I get. So
actually, some of them boast to be spending 400,000 per entrepreneur.
Thank you so much. Oh, is that how much they spend? You're listening, sir. So, and I just wanted to come back to another issue of saying, with the lady here, she was talking about franchises, and Herbert, I'm sorry, putting you on the spot too. I've shared the model of franchises with you, and I don't know her, I just met her. And Mr. Vetti Lusapo is asking for 10 million, not me. So he'll tell you tomorrow. Thank you so much. Then we can spend that money on the entrepreneurs all the way down with this roadshow that Lusapo was talking about yesterday. At least in those areas, we can start saying, let's invest. Even if it's 50,000 or 100,000 on an entrepreneur in a township who's gone through a 6 months program to kickstart his business. That is what we are waiting for. And that, for us as by township and by village, is non-negotiable. If I can't get that going forward, I might as well go back to the mine where I belong and go work. But in essence, it's year 1, year 2. I've seen people here, they'll tell you, as you said, we've been to training, when are we getting off the starting line? And the only way a small business we can get off the starting line is by getting a bit of an injection, because you've groomed me and you believe in me. So give me that chance to jump. But again, you as entrepreneurs, I said to some here on Monday, stop asking for 5 million, for heaven's sake. if I get to 10 million and you ask for 5 million, I can only give it to 2 businesses. Please tone it down. Your big idea should start small, should be able to, because as entrepreneurs we build barriers that give us reasons why we don't start. And our profiles and our business plans want an injection of 500,000. Who's going to give you 500,000? Okay. Bring that thing down so that we can start.
Okay, that's what it is. Okay, what can you say about how can we stimulate the township market? You know, now the only hope of black business that is in the township has been the spaza shop. So they've also been somehow wiped out by being disrupted by the foreign nationals who have occupied almost all of them. So what can you say about what our people are missing in their failure to really own their township markets, and how can we stimulate the township market?
Okay, so I'm reminded of a story, I think it's somewhere in Africa, I'm not too sure where, but there was this French company that went to the government and said that they saw this mine that they wanted to buy, and they would pay within the next 2 months for this mine. Outside this mine there are people living in poverty in shacks. Within the first 30 days, this French company made 3 times more than what they promised the government of that country. And yet there were people outside living in shacks who were living right next to this mine. So the thing is not just about going to seminars and training, it's understanding. So it's understanding and wisdom in terms of how to change businesses. If you read a lot of books, for example, Capitalistic Nigger, the money is not circulating within the township. It's going from someone's paycheck into Sandton. We need to start creating our own ecosystems where I'm buying products from you, where you are buying my products. If you're getting a big project, we're working on it together. I think there's such a huge emphasis of I want to be on the supply chain of a big bank or a big manufacturing company. Guess what? Everyone's doing it. Another example is the church that I attend. There was a tender that was out, but the church was big enough, and the tender was to provide catering for a building that was going up. The church seats 4,000 people. There were more than 4,000 entrepreneurs that pitched up for that RFQ. So my question is, why are these entrepreneurs going at that level? You know? Because that's where the masses are. Why aren't we looking at the top 5 or top 10% of what is needed in the country? So for me, it's really about the ecosystem. It's about changing our mindset. For me, when I started my business, honestly, my first year was calling all the big banks, all the big organizations, trying to get into their supply chain. And what's the answer? Sorry, we've done our RFQs, we've signed for 3 years, you've got to wait. And then I realized there's a problem with this. I am missing something. I then signed myself to go on a masterclass in Pretoria. I was the only black person on that masterclass because I wanted to understand how does a white entrepreneur make it in this country. And what is the difference? And is there a difference? Yeah. And once I understood that, and I think that's where the lack is, it's the understanding. Once I understood how things actually work within their industry, how do they actually get work? For example, in ABSA, it made it easier for me because when I started selling to the big corporates, I wasn't selling a chicken anymore. I was providing a solution for that organization, but I was working with understanding how the BBBE codes work and legislation. So I was saying, Mr. Client, I'm here to actually solve your problems. I see that you are a level 8, I'm a level 1. This is what I need, and this is what I can give you. And so we talk about capital, it's not necessarily the cash, it's not the 5 million. That's not the issue. It's the support from an infrastructure perspective. Do you need office space? Do you need Wi-Fi? Do you need a driver? So once you get that big deal, so what? Can you deliver? What support do you need in order to make that happen?
Okay, I think we'll just have 1 or 2 questions, hands for questions. No questions at all. Okay, no, they say that the time is not on our side, so I'll just give our panel to just do their wrapping and their parting shot, and just in short because we don't have time, just do your parting shot and then we'll close off the discussion.
No, thank you. On the ecosystem, we always hear and we talk about it, but I think as entrepreneurs we practice little of it because we always wanting business out of center. So what I'm gonna leave with you today is that look in your circle, look into your friends, do business with your friends, because as much as you don't trust those friends' businesses, why would we trust your business as a small business? Because we're always wanting to do business with other big businesses, and we leave the cash flow in our communities. Because remember, when you do small business, they pay you cash, which can help you with petrol, airtime, and even servicing other business. So the ecosystem, let's really practice it. You know, we know LEMOK is doing branding and marketing. Reach out to the circle on Facebook, everybody's there. So start there, and through those businesses, that's how you can even build your brand. That's how people can see your work and now want to do business with you.
Okay, mine is very quick. If we do not learn from history, we shall be compelled to relive it. But if we do not change the future, we shall be compelled to endure it, and that could be worse. We really have to learn from the history, and we have to change the future. If we don't, that's gonna be the worst this country is gonna face. Thank you.
Okay, so from an entrepreneurial perspective, one of the things I realize is that whenever it is said that whenever a person who lives in the township makes it, the first thing they think about is moving to a Sandton or a Rosebank. Specifically when they start their own businesses, the first thing they think about is getting offices in a Rosebank, whatever the case. And I think that is something that needs to change. As I said, I was working for an agency in Fourways, meaning that I was living in Fourways. But when I resigned, the first thing I thought about was, let me move back home and start my business at home. And I realized that when I did that, I actually inspired a new generation of entrepreneurs in social movement that are rising up the ranks and are not ashamed to put an address on their letterhead that says social movement. They proudly wear the badge of social movement and township. So for everyone who's an entrepreneur and has a home in the township, move away from Sandton. That 60,000 you're paying a month on rent can go a long way.
So in closing, for me, it's understand what your purpose is. Why are you here? What is your contract with the universe, with the earth? Why are you here? Why are you breathing this air? Secondly, it's to understand who your source is. Your source is not man, your source is God, which means God is your CEO. And once you make God your CEO, you go to him for counsel and he will guide you. He will open those doors for you. Don't rely on man, rely on God.